Hey everybody, welcome to France. I'm in Annecy and I'm riding a bike with a Mavic e-bike motor. I bet you weren't expecting to hear that. It's their new motor, the X-Tend. You're probably not going to see it for a few years, but we've been out here having a look at the pre-production samples, giving it a ride, and I've been talking to Maxime Brunon from Mavic about the new motor. So let's hop over and see what he has to say. I'm with Maxime Brunon from Mavic, and we're riding, well I'm riding, he's got an acoustic bike, but I'm on an electric bike, an electric road bike, powered by a new Mavic motor, the new Mavic X-Tend. So this is a bit of a bolt from the blue for all of us, Maxime. We weren't expecting this.
No, it's a surprise. We are full of surprise. We are following our DNA of innovating and trying to improve the bicycle world, let's say. And this is a good example of what we can achieve when we think a little bit out of the box.
Yeah, and it's not your first flirtation with electronics. We all know about the Mectronic and the zip components back in the 1990s.
You're right. That's good examples of what we can do when we get out of wheels.
Yeah.
And indeed, we launched the first electric shifters in the 90s. Did a new one, wireless, for the first time ever in the very late 90s, 99 exactly. Did some other things within electronics, and now it's something very different in the world of e-bike.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're looking at here is a really lightweight motor system. It's 3.2 kilos as a full system.
Yep.
And that's with a 360 watt-hour battery. So a similar weight to the e-bike Motion X20 system, but with a much bigger battery.
Yeah, 3.2 kilos for the total system with a 260 watts battery. And I think the most interesting part of the system is the drive unit, which is super small, very powerful, and super light.
Absolutely, and what we're talking about here is a mid motor, not a hub motor. So
exactly.
This is a mid motor, fits into, well, we're riding a sort of converted BMC road machine at the moment. So BMC have been your partner with this, with your frame partner.
Yep.
With this project.
Yes.
And this bike I'm riding is a Durace Di2. It's a nice build, and the new Mavic Cosmic.
You got the SLR32.
SLR32 wheels, thank you. Weighing in at 9.73 kilos, this bike. So under 10 kilos for a full build, with a reasonable battery that will give you a decent range on an electric bike.
Yes, in the testing that we've done with this 360 watt-hour battery, we're able to achieve up to 3,000 meters of continuous climbing.
And let's talk a little bit more about the motor, because one of the really interesting things about it is that it uses a standard Shimano Holotech crankset. So any of the Shimano Holotech cranksets will fit. I've got a Durace one on here, but all the way down to 105 Tiagra, Claris, anything will fit through there as long as it's got the standard Holotech axle.
Exactly. It's the only mid-motor on the market that's not integrating the spindle axle from the crankset. So you can just slide in the regular Holotech axles that comes with standard Shimano crankset.
Yeah. And that of course means we can run a 2x system like we're running here.
2x
or
system.
You can run a 1x gravel system, or a mountain bike group set as well.
Yeah, and then you maintain a just very, very standard Q factor. So there's no compromise on that spec.
That's great. And the motor itself, very small. So it's basically a cylinder, and the diameter of which is about 87 millimeters. Is that correct?
This is correct. Yeah.
So it really is very unobtrusive in this BMC frame. A very small motor, and you can probably hear a little bit of a whir from the motor as we're chugging up this hill, but it's really not very noisy. And obviously this is a pre-production sample, so we're not going to be seeing these released into the wild probably for another couple of years.
Yes, exactly. What you're riding here is a working prototype. I mean that the development is fully made. We are now launching the industrialization phase, and we're also looking for partners to put that model to the market. partners on the OEM side, that's our business, but also partners to help us sustain the projects to the end, so financial partners.
Excellent. I mean, let's talk a little bit more about the technology in the motor. So it's using quite a small motor with a very clever cycloidal reduction gear.
Exactly.
Which turns the RPM of the motor down from about 4,500 revs to whatever we're putting out now, about 60 up this hill. So that's a very, very simple system, also very low friction. And it also has a mechanical clutch in, which completely isolates the motor from the drivetrain when you're not using the motor.
That's totally it. So it's the drive unit is very compact, very small. It slides into a frame that has a standard width for the bottom bracket, so you can imagine everything that we've put in that small space. And so it's kind of a donut construction. We have a donut rotor stator, so the motor that turns to very high speed, which speed and power is then converted to a standard cyclist RPM by a cycloidal reducer, and all of that is controlled, of course, by the PC board that has the same shape as a donut. And as you say, what's very interesting with it is that we know that on the road, on gravel, and on many occasions on other bikes, you will also ride above 25 kilometers an hour. So what was really important for us was that the motor would disengage totally, creating zero drag, zero friction. Not just less friction, but zero friction. So when the motor is off, the only friction you get comes from the bottom bracket bearing,
which is only about half of a watt, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, and you can really feel it when you go above the 25 kilometers an hour. That it really does feel like just like a normal acoustic bike, as it should. And so the system is controlled by a single unit on the top tube, a little bit like the e-bike motion, but with two buttons, so plus and a minus for going up and down. And on my bars, I've got an iPhone, which is telling me that I'm putting out 201 watts, and the motor is assisting me with about 205, so we're about 100% of assistance there.
Yeah. What was very important for us was to keep the bike as natural as possible, and part of that is achieved through an integrated power meter. Most mid motors and motors in general have a torque sensor, but very often they are not so accurate. So it was very important for us to integrate a power meter that would be the same accuracy as the power meter you can buy on the market and use for training. And thanks to that, we're able to tell exactly the power that you put from your legs, and the motor instantly adapts the output that he has to put in complement to your legs. You are able to ride with power on the two rings, on the two chain rings.
Yeah, it works well.
Actually, for now it works better on the small ring. We still have a few software adjustments to do when you're riding the big ring. It's because of the way the power is detected.
Okay.
And so we have to improve the algorithm that detects when you're going on the big ring.
So it's more to do with what the power meter's doing than what the motor's doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the motor will react to what the power meter says. That's why if we don't measure perfectly the power on the big ring, it can have a slight offset in the power and the way the power is delivered. But most of the time you don't even feel it. But we know. Yeah. We like to do things
you
perfect.
say you've done, 120,000 kilometers of testing on this motor now?
Yeah, on a cumulative. That's about it,
Yeah.
It is about it, and counting, because we're still riding and we have I think 10 bikes today out.
Yeah.
Riding for endurance test.
What is really noticeable is that it's very good when you're moving, like, so we're now doing like over 20, about 28.
Yeah.
It's very noticeable that you don't notice the motor cut out at that point. It's a very smooth transition.
Super smooth, yeah. Also when it takes back the power, it's super smooth as well.
So are there any other specific issues with the motor at the moment then that you're trying to iron out, or is it kind of more or less at production ready?
I would say we're missing a few things like the handlebar remote.
Yeah.
The app is not complete yet, so that's more software development. But from an app point of view,
Yeah.
we need to make the whole data system, the cloud system that we have to get the information
to
from
store
the
the
bike.
data that
All of this
these
needs
are
to be
recording all the
improved.
time, so they're recording.
It's recording
all my
everything
data.
inside the motor itself. We've got
Yeah.
some memory for that. And when you finish the ride from your phone or from your Garmin when it will be running,
Yeah.
it sends it to the cloud.
Okay.
And then we have to organize all those data so that dealers can have access to some of those,
Yeah.
and that our service center can have access to everything, so it knows exactly what has gone wrong during a ride. Sometimes
Right.
there are errors that are automatically corrected, but we need
Yeah.
to know. Okay.
Cheeky.
UK style
Yeah,
roundabout.
yeah.
That's okay.
Obviously, we're riding road bikes today. Do you see it predominantly as a lightweight kind of enthusiast motor, or do you see that there's a market for this also in kind of commuting?
We
mountain
see
biking as well.
there is one market for commuting that is not really picked up yet because there was no solution for it. Is the lightweight commuters,
Yeah.
and we think that we have a good solution for that, with a big range of use, so that you don't have to charge it every day, and light enough so that's for pure urban people living in a flat, in an apartment, who wants to keep their bikes in their apartments. It's easy to carry.
Yeah.
And so today it's not easy to find bikes below 15 kilos, but as you've seen the one in the room, at 12 kilos we can offer something pretty nice. And we see also all those mountain bikes that are light support mountain bikes.
Yeah.
So we're not quite there yet. It requires a bit more development because we have to make sure that the motor really works to the way a mountain biker pedals.
Okay.
And we don't have a bike for that for now, but there's no reason why it wouldn't
Have you
work.
tried it in a mountain bike yet or not?
No.
Not at all.
No.
Okay.
But we know it's just some software adjustment and it will work.
Okay. Yeah. So what have we learnt from this short test ride? Well, I mean, the motor obviously works. I'm riding up here. It's putting out 200 watts. And it's a very natural riding experience. It's very good. It cuts in and out pretty nicely. There's a slight issue with it kicking on the chainring in the big ring in high power when you're coming off quickly off the gas. But Mavic know about that, and they're sorting that out. One thing that is really good is the way that the motor feels very natural when you're not using it. So it completely disengages, there's a mechanical clutch, and then you're just running on a standard bottom bracket bearing with the same amount of losses as you'd expect in a normal acoustic bike. It's a very small system, it's very compact, you wouldn't really notice it in this bike. It's not particularly quiet at the moment, but you have to remember that this is a pre-production sample, and so there's probably some gains that are going to be made there. In terms of where it sits in the market, it's going to be a quite high-end motor, I expect. I mean, we're looking at it here in a Dura-Race carbon BMC, and sits very nicely in this bike, you have to say. Whether that means it can be used in kind of more high-end commuter bikes, I mean, probably find a market there too. And we're a long way away from production. Mavic are saying that, well, for a start, they're saying that they need a commercial partner to actually make this a reality. And secondly, they're saying that 2025, 2026 is probably the point at which, if we see this in the market, then we'll see it. So we've got a little bit of a wait, but it's great to see Mavic doing something interesting, something innovative. It is an innovative motor. And I can see that it's certainly got appeal, especially for this kind of riding, for e-road riding, for lightweight commuting, for lightweight cross-country, down-country mountain biking, that kind of thing. It's certainly going to be a really good option. In terms of the power you're getting, I mean, I'd say it was probably a little bit more powerful than an e-bike motion motor on a climb like this. Obviously it's not going to be as powerful as a bigger, heavier mid motor, but you wouldn't expect that, and that's not what you're buying into with a system like this. Mavic rate of torque in normal use is 39 Newton meters, which in numbers is about the same as an e-bike motion motor, but because it's in the bottom bracket and you're able to keep the cadence higher, the motor's running quicker, it's more efficient there, and you get a bit more torque out of the motor there. So on a climb like this, it just works a little bit better. So yeah, that's the Mavic X-Tend e-bike motion system. If you've got any questions about it, put them in the comments below. We'll try and answer them for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more from us on road.cc on YouTube.